Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-ba. All right. Promoter 101. 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 Promoter 101.
This is Keith Levy from Paradigm, and you're on Promoter 101. Well, hey, welcome back to the Promoter 101 podcast. It is episode 179. We've got very special guests with us from ICM Partners, the lovely and talented Andrea Johnson. Welcome back to the podcast.
Why, thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me. Today on the show, we feature AEG Presents Rocky Mountain's Adam Stroul, talking about competing in the Mile High City from Cervantes to Red Rocks.
Plus, coming up on 3 questions from the Hi-Fi in Indianapolis, Indiana, the one and only Josh Baker.
Episode 179 starts right now.
This is Alex Hardy, one of the partners at Coda, and I'm on Promoter 101.
So, we've got all of them, all the past Promoter 101 episodes, just, gathered together in an encyclopedia kind of style, like how you'd have them in your basement, at your parents' house, like the old world books. And they're all hanging out online on our digital virtual shelf. And you can check them out anytime you want. So you want to go back and check out episode 70 with Michael Rapino. It's there. All you have to do is go to www.promoter101.net. And this week, can we suggest episode 104?
Features Live Nation Touring's Leslie Olenek talking with us about being a tour promoter.
She is an amazing tour promoter and just kind of killing it right now. Plus, MRG Concerts, Matt Gibbons talks about running venues and promoting in Canada as an independent promoter. There's not many of them left, but he's doing it big.
Plus, Emporium's Adam Plon debuts Assistant Therapy, a segment we're trying once and never again.
We decided this morning we are going to try that again because Adam is sure he can make it funny. And I'm going to enjoy him trying to make it funny, even if it's not. So game on. Hey, if you've got a free minute, please drop us a review or subscribe to Promoter 101 and tell a friend about it. Please, we're begging here.
Hey, it's Joshua Knight from the Paradigm Agency, coming to you live on Promoter 101.
News of the week.
If you had a Luke and you could make him tell you the news, wouldn't you do that right about now?
Time for News of the Week. Some exciting news out of Los Angeles as City of Hope announces its 15th annual Songs of Hope, hosted by its music, film, and entertainment industry group. It's been scheduled for September 19th and it'll be held at the Cadina Corner campus in Sherman Oaks. And this year, Clive Davis Legend Award in Songwriting is going to be presented. Boy One Day and Diane Warren. EA's Composer of the Year will go to Mark Shaman, and acclaimed newcomer Tierra Whack will be honored with the UMPG She Is Music Award. And of course, honoring some of the great doctors, all the great research, Dr. Melinda Malkins will go home with the Songs of Hope Beverly and Ben Horowitz Legacy Award. The MC for the evening will be legendary producer and songwriter Jimmy Jam, and additional honorees are going to include Haley Kiyoko, receiving the Facebook Songwriter Impact Award, and The Dream, earning Warner Chappell's Beacon of Excellence Award. You expect cocktails, snacks, speeches, smooching, auction items, and so many more. Tickets and sponsorships are still available. You can head over to cityofhope.org for more information. And other news, Taylor Swift out for some blood in an interview coming up with CBS Today, where she announced that she would be open to re-recording the old masters, which were sold to Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings Group as a part of the sale of Big Machine Label Group. Didn't help that Swift has a extreme personal hatred for Scooter Braun, not to mention bad feelings towards Big Machine's head Scott Borchetta following the sale this past summer. She described the sale of her catalog to Braun as my worst case scenario and blasted Borchetta for striking the deal behind her back without giving her a chance to wrestle back control of her prized master recordings. No comments have been made by either Big Machine or by Scooter Braun's Ithaca Holdings Group, though I suspect some lawyers will be interjecting with their opinions on that plan. Finally, in some automotive and music news, Porsche announced that its all-electric Taycan will be the first car to integrate Apple Music as a standard feature. And this comes as a huge shot across the bow for other electric companies like Tesla, and raising the questions why they're the first company to seriously integrate Apple Music into the dashboard. Porsche cited 2 large reasons for wanting to integrate Apple Music into their vehicles. The first being Porsche has been focusing intently on providing digital entertainment inside its cars, as well as being able to further align itself with the Apple brand. Klaus Zelmer, who's the CEO of Porsche North America, says the company's integration of Apple Music and the take-in is just the beginning of a broader cooperation with Apple. That'll do it for News of the Week.
Hi, this is Jason Kupperman from Paradigm, and you're listening to Promoter 101.
It's our favorite segment. It's time for 3 questions. We're heading out to the Midwest in the beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. Welcome, Josh Baker, to the podcast. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Independent in spirit. You rock the clubs. You guys are doing 1 million shows coming up in the world fast.
Yes, we are. Doing our best.
You got some questions for us? You ready to play our game?
I'm ready.
Batter up, motherfucker.
So I wanted to know when the last time that you actually bought a ticket to a show is.
Well, I paid for The Who at MSG.
How long ago was that?
Not that long ago, mid-May. Went to The Who at MSG, bought my tickets. I went through, Randy and made sure I got great seats. And it was a Live Nation tour, so I'm sure I probably could have gotten them from Steve Irwin. But I wanted to go. I wanted to be a fan. I wanted the experience. I bought the tickets. I have definitely not been above buying seats when I want to go to a show. I think sometimes it's a cheaper favor to just pay for the seat than it is to pick up the phone and use a political favor that you're going to be paying for a while. So it's become a norm for me. If I want to go to a show, I plan on paying for the ticket. If it should come back as a comp, it's like, I'll take it because, what the hell, why not? I've seen a handful of shows this year that I've been fortunate enough to receive comps for, but more often than not, my intention will be to pay for the ticket.
Good for you. You're a good soul.
What else you got?
Well, I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of really good mentors kind of along the way. I started out from basically zero and had a lot of folks that ask questions to. And I think in this industry, it's a really important piece of the puzzle to have folks to learn from and advise you along the way. And just kind of wanted to know, when you were coming up, maybe who your kind of mentor was.
Mentors are an amazing thing. And mine have evolved as my career's evolved. Sometimes I go back to the same ones early on. I have picked up new ones, and it's a rotation of things where you are in your life, where they are in theirs. A lot of my early mentors have already retired. So a lot of them aren't up in current day stuff. Some of them have sadly passed. Others are super, super still involved and talk to them in a weekly basis. Bill Silva is one of my longest term mentors, and he's been amazing to me. Andy Summers has also been there since I was in junior high. I'd use the payphone at school to call him at ICM to buy dates for my skate park, and he was gracious enough to give me guarantees that would fit in my allowance. Now we're promoting, arena shows together. Social Distortion and Flogging Molly are playing the arena here in Seattle in a couple of weeks that I'm excited to be the promoter. So Andy has not only been a mentor, but he's been a partner for the better part of 3 decades. So there's a lot of those relationships. And now Mark Campana and Bob Rue and obviously Michael Rapino have been amazing mentors as well as Jordan Zachary over the last 2 years while we've become partners with Live Nation, where we get to see this other part of the world and coaching from how a corporation of their size does business and learning a little bit different ways to do things. So that mentor thing is such an amazing thing. And it's important to have that conversation. You can't just assume somebody wants to mentor you. You have to drop a note, pick up a phone and say, hey, I love your swagger. I would love to do things the way you do and hopefully grow my career into a similar model of yours. I really like how you do things. Like I love Charlie Walker's swagger. And I sent him a note maybe a year and a half ago. And I was like, dude, I would just like to do business the way you do. Would you give me some advice? Do you mind mentoring me? And he takes time every once in a while and does that for me.
Well, I got one more for you, kind of a personal thing I try and ask everyone. We deal with so much of volume of email, communication, all the different things that we go through throughout the day. Do you have any set of tools, technology, how you kind of manage your day to day from a productivity standpoint? Because it often can trail off in a million directions, and keeping it, staying focused and trying to get done what you need to get done is always a challenge. So always interested to hear what people are using to kind of help themselves.
I think we all develop our own systems, and over time they change, and it's based on volume and scale. And as things get more complicated, you need more tools to help you. I have my own way to manage my avails. It's a Google spreadsheet that I've developed, so it sorts really easily by venue, by artist, by state, by city, by hold status. So I can see what's being challenged, so I can go through and check on challenges when I've got moments and making sure that challenges aren't getting old, that people aren't getting past 72 hours on a challenge or something, As far as show organization, we have a show labor sheet that shows all of our confirmed dates. Anyone on the staff can go to it and check up on it and see what that information is, because, we've got a pretty good sized staff now, and people constantly need that info that's more than just what's on the website. It's like, so yeah, I think a lot of it is just staying on top of stuff. And then, when you're traveling, trying to just keep an eye on it. So it's only the detail stuff. And so I can surf my inbox and try and get that cleared down to zero as quick as possible. And
yeah, that's great advice.
Well, I've truly enjoyed this conversation, and you've definitely thought about these questions, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm honored you had me on. Appreciate it.
Can't get much better than Josh Baker right here on the home of the Promoter 101 podcast.
Hey, it's Josh Sherman from Deggy Entertainment, and this is Promoter 101.
Promoter 101 Flashbacks.
Episode 19.
Brian O'Connell.
So you were talking about your process, and you work from the bus, and you're doing a lot of shows.
Yeah, we do 600 plus shows a year, just as, in country, my little world. But the process is one that hasn't really changed. Now, we were talking earlier, I still do everything longhand. It gets transferred into...
Literally with pencil and pad.
Pencil and paper. There's a running joke on routings with my managers and agents and stuff. I tell them, don't believe anything that looks like a computer did it, because if it's not in my handwriting, it's not real. And the reason that I do it is not to be kitschy or old school, but it's rote. So if I actually take the time and I write it down, and I'm staring at the date, and I'm staring at the month, and I'm staring at everything, and I'm writing it and then erasing it and writing it again, I memorize it. There'll come a time right before we release everything that I can tell you like random dates, where so-and-so is going to be on what date in what month, and what else is going on at the time, and what we have to watch out for. And
because the traffic in country world is insane.
It's nuts.
Whether it's you or it's Louie or it's Brad Garrett or it's a random one-off or a country radio station doing a show or a football game in the wrong part of town, it really affects everything, and it can have a huge swing of 5,000-7,000 tickets, and in the stadiums 20,000 tickets if you hit those things wrong.
Yeah, it's not guessing, and that's the beauty of it. Now we have the Google machine.
Right.
The information is available to us. So there are times when people, I say, like route in the dark, which doesn't make any sense to me. Like you'll take a blank route sheet and you'll go, okay, Omaha, Des Moines, Minneapolis, and okay, there's that weekend. You do this and you write it down without doing any of the research, and it becomes kind of like the skeletal frame of what a tour looks like. But by the time we get done with that, and that's few and far between that happens, but by the time we get done with it, we've torn it completely apart. And, Omaha is no longer in February, it's in November, because of the traffic and because of the Little League World Series in Omaha or whatever. We try to make sure that we are the most knowledgeable people on behalf of the artists for that market. And when we are going up against something, we tell people, hey, FYI.
With that in mind, do you and Louis Messina, you guys both, it gives you guys an advantage to share information because you both have your acts.
Absolutely.
And you don't want to have Eric and Luke in the same town on the same night.
Correct. We do share. One of the nice things about Nashville, it's really not an old wives' tale. This goes back to the very beginnings of what I call the modern country business, which would be starting in about 1990. It really kind of flipped because prior to that, most country acts were promoted in-house. Randy Travis had Jeff Davis, Reba McEntire had Trey Turner, Alabama had the Fowlers. Everything was in-house. And then it kind of gradually came out of, after the class of 89, it morphed into a more what everyone would know as a traditional promoter, territorial, and then national level. So the point of that is that as that evolved, we all kind of got together and said, hey, for the good of everybody, we're not going to keep state secrets. If we're going to go play Boston on whatever date, the race is to get to the date and be relatively confident that's your date. And if somebody else, another artist, is planning on going, we plant the flag and then you route around it. So that makes it a giant Tetris puzzle. It's like you're constantly trying to pick weekends up. The other difference in country versus a traditional rock tour, which they still do this, which I guess I understand to a certain degree, we don't know what Mondays and Tuesdays are. Mondays and Tuesdays, you're at home because we'll occasionally work a Wednesday, but it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday during the NFL season, and it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday when the NFL is off because we try not to compete, and it's not 100%.
And just business is just so much better. It's worth waiting for those other markets that you would have played on a Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, yeah, we look at it more along the lines of identification with who's coming. Our shows are quote unquote country working class, young for the most part, don't want to be hung over on a Wednesday. They'll go Thursday night, they'll go hard, and they can kind of limp through Friday and get through the weekend. But it's a party, it's an atmosphere, it's a lifestyle, if you will. Now, if you're Paul McCartney, you can play any night of the week. It doesn't matter. But for this generation of country artists, we've drilled it into everybody's head. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's a weekend. It's close enough to the weekend that you can let loose and you can just kind of relax. You don't have to worry about getting up the next day or whatever.
This is Dan Weiner from Paradigm on Promoter 101.
Tweets of the week.
I hope you're ready, because it's time for Tweets of the Week. When you mistake your flight boarding time for the departing time and get to the airport way too early.
This is an amateur move, just a straight amateur move. I fucked up and got to enjoy the Alaska Lounge for a couple extra hours.
Love it. Anyone can write a book.
But it really takes someone with talent to make it so you enjoy reading it, and that takes talent.
Not sure I get this one. Right angles must have a much better publicist than left angles.
Yeah, everybody always talks about right angles. You never hear anybody talking about left angles. Okay, now you get it.
This is true, yes. That's very true. Life is all about the extra medium.
God, that was one from July 7th. I'm not exactly 100% sure what I was thinking, but clearly my state of mind at that day was pretty much like very Stephen Wright tribute mode, I think.
The main difference between being an indie and working for a bigger corporation is the volume of internal calls.
Also, there's some additional accounting and politics to deal with, but otherwise it's like exactly the same thing.
I can attest to that. When you look at a festival lineup, thinking of the level of difficulty each artist's agent brings to the deal and wonder how these events ever come together.
Just amazing to think about, right? At some point, you start to understand why acts make so much more money to headline a festival. And it's like, okay, just agent, shut up. What is it going to take to get you to confirm right now? $4 million? Fine, done. I think that's how that happens. Some of those bands are making that now. And I think it's just, okay, just fine. Just for you to agree to all of this. What's the number?
Well, I think you also probably have to be Beyonce to get, but yeah.
There's a multiplier involved for sure, though.
Yeah, you have to be capable of drawing a huge crowd of people to the festival to get somebody to do that. But yeah, that will just about do it for Tweets of the Week. You can follow Dan on Twitter @TheJew, and you can follow me, but I don't tweet. So there's that.
But it's AJMU19 if you do want to follow her in a stalker mode.
If you want to follow me into oblivion.
My name is Trey Manny. I'm with Paradigm Talent Agency on Promoter 101.
In our feature interview this week, we feature AEG presents Rocky Mountain's Adam Stroul talking about competing in the Mile High City from Cervantes to Red Rocks.
AEG, Rocky Mountain's Adam Stroul, or do you go by Cervantes, Adam Stroul?
Both. Cervantes and AEG.
Your world is about the emerging artist. In particular, you seem to love the funk and the hip hop and the upcoming, something that's got a groove and soul to it.
Absolutely. Very into the reggae scene as well.
Nice little jam to everything that you do, though. And there seems to be a little jazziness to a lot of that as well.
Yeah, we like to get creative and, we focus on putting together very unique events that, otherwise wouldn't happen.
So Colorado's a tough market, and you guys were an independent for a very long time until you got gobbled up by AEG. But let's talk about the Cervantes days and when you guys were fighting Live Nation, AEG, and whoever else happened to pop through that market, and still somehow we're doing some real volume in those venues that you guys are running in Colorado, plus promoting outside those venues as well, and venues as big as Red Rocks.
Yeah, so the Cervantes thing for me started in January of 2010. For those of you who don't know, it's 2 rooms, a 500 capacity room and an 1100 cap ballroom. And in order to compete, we started going into rooms all over Colorado and creating little mini tours for artists through Colorado. And that was our way of getting history with these artists.
And you were able to keep the history in a lot of cases.
In a lot of cases. There were definitely times where I lost. But, those were good learning experiences and a way for me to kind of finesse and figure out with the artists and their teams how to hold on to them and what they needed from me to continue to stay with me as their promoter in the market.
Now, how many shows were you guys doing a year before you became part of AEG?
I mean, the other side is pretty much booked almost every single night, maybe 3 nights a week in the ballroom, plus the Aggie and Hoties and random shows in the Black Sheep in the Springs and the Animicity Theater in Durango, and the festivals we book, Arise, Bloom. I mean, maybe 500, 600, 700.
It's a huge number of shows, but Other Side booked every night. I mean, that's 350 shows a year plus. So
yep, right there.
That's an insane number, and covering shows in multiple markets throughout the Front Range. I mean, that's a lot of volume.
Yeah, we did that a lot. Not as much these days. These days, we're definitely focusing more on Denver, and when we need to help our friends out and they need some extra plays and they want to play with us, we'll absolutely take care of them and go into these other rooms around Colorado. But for the most part, we're focusing on Denver.
Now, after obviously annoying both sides to the point where you guys were getting enough volume and keeping it away from, both companies came a calling. There was rumors of a Live Nation deal. There was rumors of an AEG deal. And clearly at one point, it went one way or the other. And clearly AEG was where you guys decided to be.
Really, we didn't want to sell. We wanted to, save the integrity of our venues and the vibe that we created, especially at Cervantes. And, of course, we wanted to grow, but we didn't want anyone to lose their jobs. We didn't want these independent rooms to get that kind of corporate sterile feel. And, AEG came to us with a unique situation where we, Scott Morrill and I could be buyers over there and still hold on to our rooms just the same way that Scott Campbell has Lost Lake and Larimer and Globe. And, Don still has the Fox and the Boulder Theater, etc. We still have Cervantes and aggressively booked that room, and then beyond now into the Ogden and the Mission Ballroom, which opens next week, and Red Rocks, Fiddlers, First Bank Center, and beyond.
So now you've been part of AEG for what, about 2 years now?
Yep, 2 years, coming up on 2 years.
Denver sees so many players. There's so many talent buyers that are making a living in that market. And just at AEG Denver Rocky Mountains, you guys have so many buyers in that office.
Yeah, there's 6 of us.
The number of shows you're trying to book, and at the same time, the number of rooms you guys have, and the avails, it's just like chasing an avail. You might be the fucking 6th hold in a room behind 5 other buyers, 5 other shows. It's just like, legitimately, you can't confirm dates in your own room because so many people trying to book the same fucking thing. That's got to be intense.
It is crazy, but we do all work together to make sure that we can figure out a situation where the bands can get what they need. Everybody works together to make sure it happens. And we've got so many rooms, between Cervantes and the Bluebird and the Gothic and the Ogden and Campbell's Little Clubs and a bunch of other options we have around the Front Range, being like, the Fox and the Boulder Theater and the Aggie Theater and the Black Sheep. But we're able to figure something out in almost every circumstance.
It's nice to have all those options sitting there for you.
It really is.
So this year you said you're promoting 8 shows at Red Rocks?
I think so. I think it's 8, yeah.
That's a full season for any other promoter in the world, for most part, in an outdoor season. And, I mean, that's on top of the 100 and change shows your company's promoting.
Yeah, about 130, I think. AEG Denver had this year.
It's incredible. When you're booking Red Rocks, obviously there's a additional value into that venue, and it's going to help put another sometimes 80 or 100% on top of what the act would do at any other room in the market.
Oh, 100%. Like an act that can normally come through and sell 3,000 tickets in a hard ticket room can do a show at Red Rocks in the middle of the summer and sell it out. It's pretty wild.
That's just an insane thought.
Yeah.
Now, does that work just on the weekends, or is that working on Mondays and Tuesdays too?
A Monday in the middle of the summer at Red Rocks might as well be a Friday or Saturday.
That's insane. So 8 shows at Red Rocks, all of the 500 plus shows a year that you're messing around with, the different volume. What's the future hold for you?
I think the idea is to just stay the course, focus on what I'm doing for AEG and making sure that Cervantes is properly programmed, and, whatever happens, happens. But hopefully more and more artists grow with me and I can grow with them and, take them to different levels, and maybe they can take me to different levels.
All right. So a Jewish kid promoting concerts in Denver. I don't know why this sounds familiar to me. That great tradition of guys that have come before. Barry Fay, Chuck Morris,
Strasburg.
Sure. Great list of buyers. How did you get into the game?
It all started in 2007 with a band called The Methods. I was booking and managing that band. And in order to legitimize everything I was doing, I started a company called Baseline Artists. And with that company, I was booking and managing artists. When I wasn't getting the looks for my bands that I wanted, I started out renting out the rooms and flying in artists, Macklemore, Collie Buds. I'd have my artists open up those shows. And people naturally noticed what I was doing. And I got a call from Regis Christo. And he asked me to come be the buyer at City Hall. So I did that. And I went from there to Cervantes to the Belly Bin Aspen for a few months. Worked for Michael Goldberg.
You learned some stuff doing that and get a couple days on the hill.
Yeah, that was a quick one. And moved back down to Denver, went back to Cervantes, and, that's just where things kind of started taking off. But when we were getting beat up and couldn't really get shows at Cervantes, I just decided to get super aggressive and do everything I possibly could to figure out a way to get the shows in that room, because that room is amazing and deserved to have high caliber shows.
Okay, once again, Jewish promoter in Denver getting super aggressive. Why does this sound so familiar? So you've got this game. You're going up against probably the most aggressive promoter in the country in AEG Denver, and trying to keep your history. And I imagine that wasn't that easy.
It wasn't. I just mentioned Macklemore. That one was taken from me, and that stings to this very day. I can't wait till I get that dude back, and it'll happen soon. But yeah, there were a lot of conversations, and we had to be resilient. And no matter how many times we got knocked down or lost a show, we had to get back up and keep fighting for the next one. And we did. And it, over the course of time, it proved to work out.
Now, when you're aggressive like that, forces you to take risks beyond what normal risk would be.
Yes.
So with those risks come losses. You can't help it. If you're taking big shots, you're taking big risks, and some of those don't pay off.
Oh, we took a fuck ton of losses in the beginning, for sure.
Now, that's where resiliency comes in this business, because most people, when you take the losses, that's where it ends.
100%.
So to be able to find a way to keep financing the business when you're taking diggers like that, and to continue to take big shots, the fuck is wrong with the promoter mind that allows that? And I look at you, but I could be looking in a mirror when I say it, because I'm just as stupid. It's a gambling addiction, right? I mean, it is. We got to keep the act. We got to keep taking the risk. Even we know it probably isn't a great risk to be taken. I mean, the deal's not great to begin with when you look at an 85-15 just off the bat, but when you start to push those guarantees up.
Yeah, and the ticket prices go up, and then in turn, the fans get fucked.
What part of it is inside of the promoter where you got to just say, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway?
I think there's a thrill in getting the deal done and seeing what's going to happen. Sometimes you're rolling dice, but for the most part, I think you and I both know that we're making very calculated decisions and taking calculated risks, educated guesses at the end of the day. We have history to look at. We have past numbers to look at. We have an idea of what's hot. You have that natural instinct of, all right, this band, was doing this before, but there's new music coming out and there's this heat and that heat. And, you can kind of, make that guess that this time it's going to do this instead of what it did last time. And that's why I can pay this band more money and go up on the ticket price.
Now, a lot of the acts that you work with, when they break, they turn into pop stars. Legitimate MTV, cover magazines, cameos and moving kind of thing. That screams tour deals. Whether it's AEG or Live Nation, that means the local guys get cut out at some level. You're playing a market game. Is that a long-term problem?
There's two different departments in the AEG touring department. One's global and one's clubs and theaters. And, for the most part, most of the stuff that I work on, stays with me. So even if there is a tour deal being done, I'm still the promoter on the show in my market. It's kind of like a bundle deal.
So you're protected?
Yeah, in a sense.
As long as it goes to AEG.
Yeah. We definitely lose plenty to Live Nation. Oftentimes we'll get carve-outs, but, at the end of the day, I feel like I end up keeping on to most of my, holding on to most of my artists and keeping most of the history.
So if something like Juice WRLD plays Denver, you'd probably be the guy that's on point for the market?
I would hope so. I did Juice WRLD at the Ogden for his first play in the market, and then I had him co-headline Red Rocks and Machine Gun Kelly. So if it does come through, I would assume I'd get it, but our boy Johnny Schumann in Global Touring, he's got that Juice WRLD tour, so we'll see what he decides to do with it.
But there's obviously that relationship with Global Touring where you guys are they're working with you guys when they come to the local market to figure out the right play and the right
100%,
promoter.
yeah.
So that's always going to be an interesting thing, and I guess that leads to shows that maybe you wouldn't have gotten or wouldn't have had a relationship with that might fall into your hands for the local market too.
It's definitely
so
happened.
It cuts both ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
So hey, it's like suddenly you get this awesome show that it's like, oh, cool. It's like, I love the artist, but no relationship whatsoever.
Yup. There have definitely been a handful of those that I've gotten that have just blown out the Ogden instantaneously, thanks to our awesome team for that.
Now, when Global Touring comes through, do you still keep the promoter profit, or do they take that with them as the touring division?
I think each situation is different, but I think, global is global, and then clubs and theaters is each individual in-house, in-market promoter.
And that's more your world when it comes to touring, right?
Yeah.
Got it. You got any advice for some of the promoters coming up in the business behind us?
Everything is based on relationships, and be of service and take care of everyone around you, no matter how little or how big you think they are. Everybody is important, and that should always be your goal, is to make everybody around you happy and feel thanked and taken care of.
It was an honor to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, buddy. Appreciate you.
Adam was just a blast to hang out with. I'm always thrilled to hang with him, and I'm stoked to count him as a friend.
Steve Strange, X-Ray Touring, Promoter 101.
Write to us at steiny@promoter101.net. Feel free to tell us what's on your mind.
We'll be back Monday at 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. on the Eastern Seaboard.
Join us then when we feature APA Nashville's top dog, Steve Lassiter.
Until then, we're wishing you sold-out shows for the week to come. Cheers!
Call your mother.
This is Joe Atamian, and I'm on Promoter 101.